Guys, watch the news. The Chicago Bears should be arrested. They just committed highway robbery once again. What a draft, and it's not over yet. And what the Bears just completed is like the end of a murder mystery novel. Everything is revealed. It's just shocking, the crimes committed, and the Bears just put the final touch on the Carolina Panthers robbery. I'm going to do the final details on that at the end of this video, but let's get straight to the draft pick. And I'm talking about the drafting of wide receiver Luther Burden III out of Missouri. Guys, this is just a player that had a first round grade on. This might actually be the best wideout in this entire draft. And the comp that's being tossed around, even before the Bears picked him, that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Enough said, just absolutely sick. I think the fit is obvious. And let's look at this Yahoo Sports profile. It really sums things up here. The Chicago Bears made another splash with the selection of Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden III with a 39th overall pick. This adds yet another weapon for second-year quarterback Caleb Williams. We're talking about one of the most explosive playmakers in this entire draft class, and he just narrowly missed out on being a first-round selection. And if we're looking at last season with Missouri, doesn't tell the whole story. But last year, he had a team-high 61 receptions for 676 yards, averaging 11 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns in 12 games. Now, our head coach, Ben Johnson, right? He discussed the importance of the slot receiver in this offense ad nauseum. That's exactly the role that Burden is going to fill in the Chicago offense. He's an absolute yak machine. And this is a little more fun. This was set in Rock M's draft profile for Burden in March. Man, Burden is like a Maserati or Lamborghini, a luxury machine that's an absolute masterpiece with the right driver, but one that won't reach its full potential if used in the wrong way or has the wrong person at the wheel. Elite slot receiver, he can be the centerpiece of an offense if they scheme to get him open in space and allow him to use his strengths. That's exactly what head coach Ben Johnson does for his offensive players. One of the brightest young minds in the NFL. And you better believe that he has a scheme for Burden's versatility and rare skill set. It's just a really strong fit. Now, kind of getting back to those stats that I just mentioned, and also at the end of the video, I'm going to really detail the final count on this trade heist that we did with the Carolina Panthers a couple of years ago. But let's look at this. He really had a drop-off in terms of pure production after his breakout season in 2023. So we're looking at 8 total touchdowns, and his receiving yards actually dropped by about 50% last year. But he's still graded out as a high-end wide receiver by PFF, posted the best rushing numbers of his career. That's a really big indicator of his versatility on the ball. And here's kind of the rundown on this on Burden. This is courtesy of USA Today's Ironton Osley. I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong. I'm sorry, man. So Burden projects as a playmaking slot receiver with the burst to get chunk yards after the catch. He's built like a running back, but he has reliable hands, likely projects only to the slot in the NFL, but once again, a creative offensive play caller will enjoy getting him the ball in space, and he has immediate potential as a returner. We're looking at him as well. At one point in the draft process, he was considered a high first-round value, but he slid because of a dip in production last year. Whispers of character concerns. I haven't heard any more details on that. But I'm seeing that this last year there are definite quarterback concerns on Missouri. The scheme was pretty weak. There are a lot of injuries. There are kind of some thoughts that he was actually getting bored in the offense. It was really stale. I don't know. I don't know the specifics on that. I'm just going by what I heard. Let's also hear what The Athletic had to say. Burden was considered a top 5 prospect entering the 2024 season. Then his numbers fell dramatically, partly because of injuries on Missouri's offense, but he still translates into a potential number 1 receiver. He's going to help on day one. He's going to be an absolute stud in the NFL, and I'm so glad that we have him. And we're also looking at the Bears in this part of the draft. They set themselves up so well to be able to pivot and just take best player available in every single situation. We are looking at Burden was the tipping point at wide receiver in this draft. The drop off to the next wide receiver was going to be super steep, and one could really argue that the Bears added a receiver with more upside than both of the pass catchers that were selected in the first round. Even Tet McMillan, this upside on this player is unbelievable, and he's not going to have to come on the team, obviously, and be a number one. He's going to have room to grow. And this is absolutely further proof as well that Ben Johnson is running the show. Typically, like last year, the last couple years under this Ryan Poles regime, you could usually look at the Bears' top 30 visits. Made it really easy to predict draft picks. I was able to predict almost every draft pick last year just by sensibly looking at the top 30 visits. But the team's operating differently now. Luther Burden said, actually, that he didn't talk to the Bears much at all in the pre-draft process and was surprised that Chicago drafted him. And if you look online, if you look on Twitter, and you kind of watch his first interaction with the guys on the team, it was pretty obvious he didn't have a relationship with Ryan Poles. He didn't have a relationship with the head coach to hear their phone conversation. The only guy that he really knew well and was animated with was his receivers coach, Antoine Randall L. What a good addition to the staff. But just kind of an interesting note here, even as far as how these draft picks are playing out. There's a difference in how they scout and also how they're operating. And to me, it shows that Ben Johnson is really pulling all the strings here. So let's look at Burden a little more broadly, actually who he was in college. And last year didn't really dictate who he was in college. So let's look over his 3 years at Missouri. He caught 192 passes for 2,263 yards, 21 touchdowns. And really his highlight year was 2023. Career highs in receptions with 86, over 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, named first team All-SEC, and just like he was in 2024 as well. But he actually, at the Combine, he ran a 4.4140, and the Bears are clearly enamored by his athleticism, by his playmaking ability, and because it was an express need for the Bears to add another wide receiver of his caliber, we were just able to take the best player available, and we were able to bring a stud onto the team. And he's also received comparisons to current New York Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson. That was from Lance Zierlein of NFL.com. If he can put up that kind of production, obviously the Bears have a steal here. He excels working out of the slot. That gives him a two-way go to get. To get into his route. He effectively handles gadget or manufactured touch plays in space. That's on a scouting report before he was on the Bears. We know what Ben Johnson likes to do as well. And really the nice thing that I saw as well, the guy's going to have a chip on his shoulder after he was not selected in the first round. He simply went to social media, and about 12:30 at night, he did a social media post that he was actually working out at the Missouri football facilities. So the guy is going to play with a chip on his shoulder. He thinks that he should have been a first-round pick, but I'm really glad that he wasn't, so we could get him. Versatility and alignment. He's really able for a play caller to open up his playbook, creates mismatches all over the field, advantageous matchups, and he's also aligned in the backfield at running back if needed. He can play in bunch and stack sets. This guy does it all. He runs the whole route tree. And kind of looking specifically at his positives, he's listed as a dynamic playmaker, really excels with the football in space. Can't emphasize that enough. Special teams value, a really good punt returner. He generates big plays with post-catch burst. He's a yak machine. Great acceleration after he has the ball in his hands. Alignment versatility. He's there. He's just screaming creative play calling possibilities and excellent play strength at the point of attack. Routinely breaks tackles in college. And let's just finish the murder mystery reveal that I promise. This is what we did to the Panthers to close. This has got to be a historic fleecing. So the Bears got the number 9 overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the number 61 pick in 2023, the Panthers' first-round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, that was Caleb Williams, their second-round pick that we just enjoyed, and wide receiver DJ Moore. And the Panthers got the number 1 overall that they spent on their quarterback. So let's kind of look at what the Bears were able to do with those picks entering Friday night. With that number 1 pick, number 10 pick, we got offensive tackle Darnell Wright. Absolutely great decision. Number 56, we turned that into cornerback Tyreek Stevenson. And then in 2024, Caleb Williams at 1. The number 122 on punter Torrey Taylor. And then just this year, we closed it with wide receiver Luther Burden. And then also DJ Moore. He immediately had a career-high 1,384 yards, 8 touchdowns in 2023, caught a career-high 98 passes, signed a 4-year, $110 million extension in 2024, and that's going to end up being a bargain on him as the market climbs. It doesn't even kick in until after this year. And we're looking at a little asterisk on the Darnell Wright pick. The Bears actually traded the number 9 overall pick in 23 to the Philadelphia Eagles for the number 10 overall pick, and that's how we got Torrey Taylor. And then we traded away the number 61 in 2023 to move up to number 56 and take Tyreek Stevenson. So that's kind of like a lay of the land for this draft fleecing, and it's a pleasure to walk through it. It's not boring at all. This is actually a historic fleecing that Ryan Poles committed against the Carolina Panthers. You got to love it. Bear down. More draft to come. I'll be back on here tomorrow giving you more Chicago Bears fan news on the daily, and we'll talk soon. See ya.